Welcome to Aesthetic AF Podcast, where we have weekly conversations about marketing, sales, and business strategy for MedSpa owners.
I'm your host, Sam Varner, the Profit Coach, and
I'm Tara Dotson Riley, your digital marketing expert and agency owner. Our guest on today's episode is Brittany, the co-owner of Mind and Body MedSpa out of Versailles, Kentucky.
All right, Brittany, I'm so excited that you are joining us today on the podcast. We're really excited to talk to you. Why don't we start by just give me a little bit of history in terms of how you ended up in this industry?
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I ended up in aesthetics because, like many other nurse practitioners, medicine is just going in a direction that we're not loving. So that really led into kind of thinking about what else life was going to look like. And at that point, I had been looking at aesthetics and doing some things, but it wasn't truly on the radar until in that moment. And then my business partner and we happened to meet each other just by chance. And as she would say, it's love at first sight. I'm like, it makes us sound very weird, but we clicked, we became very good friends, and it just spun from there. It's just exciting because we can tie in a little bit of the wellness portion along with the cosmetic portion. That's how I ended up here, and it's just spun from there.
So when y'all decided to go into business together, did y'all start out with a full space? Did you have a single chair? What did that look like at the beginning?
Yeah, so we actually had a full space. We had 3 rooms, and then technically 4, but we used one as an office. And obviously with just the 2 of us starting out, we didn't use all of those rooms at the time, but we grew into them. We had this space always for the growth, and we actually didn't even move out of that space until February of last year. So in just a couple weeks will be our 1-year mark in our new place, which is downtown.
So what led you down the path of expanding into the new space, and what was the deciding factor of, okay, it's time to...
Yeah, so we had always wanted to be downtown. Versailles, where we're located, we're in Versailles, Kentucky, we call it like a Hallmark town. I mean, literally, if you come down here, you're at our downtown. It is what in a Hallmark movie during Christmas. It's beautiful, it's very quaint, and we knew that we wanted to get downtown. The hard part for us was we have a lot of older clients. We have a lot of busy moms who are stopping in between work or on a lunch break or right after work. And the parking situation was just an issue. And we just said we can't go downtown and not have parking for the clients in and out of the door. So it was something we wanted to do, and it was always the goal, but we just didn't know if it was going to happen. And we got a call one day from a family who lived in Versailles their whole life, and they said, hey, we just bought this new building. It didn't even go on the market, and we thought of you guys as a possible business to go in. And it was just crazy because we were actually set to sign our lease on our current place the month before, and we just hadn't signed. We just hadn't gotten it back to them. So that's what led us down here. It was always the goal. We didn't know that we would come this soon. We were hoping within 5 years, but we made it here within 3 years, and it was just by happenstance. But our building is beautiful. We renovated the outside, we renovated the inside, and our clients just love it. It suits us more, and it's in a beautiful area. The traffic and the visibility is just top notch.
Awesome. And so how big is your team now?
So our team is 4. We have a nurse, and we have my business partner and I that are nurse practitioners. And then we have an esthetician. Our esthetician actually was hired as our front desk. Originally, she was in esthetician school. She has now since graduated. And so as she's building her book, she's moving into that. So we really need to hire. However, we've been holding back, not because we don't necessarily want to hire, but it's just we have such a good team. We're all very close. We get along very well. And you get one bad apple and it can really change the dynamic of your clinic. So we've made it work. So it's just us 4, but we're knocking on the door of a few more.
Okay.
I mean, I think foot traffic was huge, right? Like that shift from a location that had far less foot traffic, if really at all, to the new location with foot traffic. Do you think that's the number one thing that shifted in terms of just busyness? Is it that in the location, or what do you think's changed in the last year?
Yes and no. I think traffic, our foot traffic and visibility, I mean, was huge for us. I mean, we're right on Main Street. We hear all the time, we didn't know we had a med spa and I was just driving past. I do think that plays a big role. I will still say that our number one way that we get people in here, in my opinion, is just a referral, refer a friend. So we still hear a lot of that is, my friend told me about you all. I also think we have a really good team with our SEO, and so now that's gotten maximized. I think that's really driven a lot into because we rank higher in Google. We really push Google reviews, so we get a lot with that, with people saying, I saw your Google reviews and everything looks awesome. And so I think it's a combination of things, but I do think the location, the visibility changed a lot for us.
Yeah, I think so for sure. I love that. I like the idea of talking about that referral base, right? Because what that referral base says is it's customer service. It's really focusing on the experience for your clients as they come in. That's the only way you end up with people showing back up, right? And specifically showing back up and bringing their closest friends to be also somebody that comes in the door. So how much focus did you guys put on that at the beginning? Do you remember back at the very beginning, was that some of the stuff that you focused on to begin with? Or when you first started, what were the things that you felt were super important? Have they translated, or have you changed and been like, actually, having done this a little while, now we do this and it's really important?
I think in the beginning, I think our focus has always been, and it still is, the clients. It truly is. I feel if you treat people well, if you make them feel that they are important and that their concerns are important, and you listen and you're not just looking at them as a dollar sign, I think that makes a huge difference. And that's just the philosophy we had from the very beginning is people won't remember what you told them, but they will remember how you made them feel. They just will. And I think for every client that sits in your chair, we have the opportunity to make a difference in their life. And whether that is a simple conversation that you have with them, they're having a rough day, or they finally hit that point in their life where it's either, sometimes it's people in their mid-30s, sometimes it's people in their mid-60s. You have the opportunity to make a difference for them and make them feel seen and make them feel heard. And I think that's just something that we've really carried from the beginning until now is, and I think that's something that we do. Our motto is simply you. We want all of our clients to walk through the doors, and we want them to walk out and feel like themselves, only, confident and refreshed or refueled, or, just that they're functioning at a higher level or ready to take on the day. So our goal is never to change anybody, and I think that's the thing with aesthetics. People think, oh my gosh, they get all this work done. Honestly, one of the biggest compliments we get is people say that they chose us because when they see us on the website, they're like, you look normal, you look natural. And that's our goal. I'm like, you shouldn't not look like yourself. You should look like yourself. You should look simply you, only you should feel more confident. And so going back to where I was starting is, I think that's been our superpower from the beginning, is we just treated our patients like a person, not a dollar sign. And we've really carried that through. There's obviously other things that we have changed, and I think that we do better since then. But I think that's just the kind of the heart of what Mind and Body is, to just make people feel that when you walk in these doors, it doesn't matter if you're in your sweatpants, or I don't care if you're carrying the highest end bag. I won't know anyway. It won't matter. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're in either. You matter to us, and you're important here. And I think it's intimidating sometimes for people to walk into a med spa, and we don't want that.
In a vulnerable state where they're not feeling confident, maybe they're not feeling the most beautiful, and so to have somewhere that is that welcoming, come on in, it's fine.
Nobody should ever feel inferior to anybody based on their looks, what they wear, how much money they have and stuff. And so I understand why people feel that way because I've felt that way going into places. That's just our number one goal here is come as you are, you're welcome.
How else do you get that message out? I know you have a strong focus on Google reviews, which is as close as you can get to personal testimony as possible. But what about other ways for getting that message out?
Great question. I would say it's on our website. It's some things that we put out there. We try in our social media to really push that image as well.
Yeah, I think having been to the original location, right? I think it feels like that when you walk in the door, right? So I'm sure that as you're out doing community events and that kind of stuff too, I think that probably shows up where you can just show up as you are. But it's interesting to think about that from that business strategy standpoint of how do I incorporate that more so that people who don't know you or have no connection to you yet, that's the first thing they feel from any of the touch points that they get, right? How do you make that even more the stamp that exists for you guys anywhere, especially because I do think it makes you stand out as a practice. I think that there's a lot of people that probably haven't even dipped their toe in the pool of what they could be doing when it comes to med spa and aesthetics and things because they don't even know if it's relevant to them. Can you even do anything about the XYZ problem that bothers me or right? Yeah. So that's an interesting thing to think about just from a big broad strokes of like how do we give that
warm fuzzy feeling and everything.
Yeah. I like that. So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, but the first one is, what is the number one challenge that you feel like you have overcome in your time as a business owner?
That's funny because I'm like, as a business owner, do you ever feel like you've mastered something?
Like you're over it?
No.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I missing, Sam? Did I miss something? Because I don't know that you ever feel as a business owner that.
No, you don't. At least I don't either. So like we're in good company. I think, I don't suck at that today. Maybe that's how we all feel.
Maybe it's
sometimes.
Like finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe way far in the distance, but like you can finally see it now and you couldn't before.
Yeah, I will say, I don't know that it's like anything we do well. I just feel here in the last couple months, we've gotten a lot of people into play with our business that I think are, they were missing puzzle pieces that we needed. We've had a little shift in some things, more behind the scene things. It could be something from like an accountant to a bookkeeper to, to any of this, not to just throw anything out there because I don't want to make it sound like we didn't like somebody or didn't. But just here recently, we've had a lot of turnover on a lot of things behind the scenes for one reason or another. Somebody's retiring or we just felt like this just wasn't working for us. This isn't the way we wanted to take our business. Our vision wasn't being seen for whatever reason. Yeah. We've had a lot of shift here in the last couple months. And we were just saying the other day, we're like, oh my gosh, we just feel like we can breathe in the sense of we feel like we've made some really good decisions with some people. We made some changes even a year or two ago with some things that we were doing. And they've panned out to be phenomenal for our business. We look at them more like a partner than somebody who's working and doing a service for us. So for example, our SEO company who does like our website and stuff, our guy that we work with, he's phenomenal. It's definitely these relationships that we've built with these people, I think. And so that's something I think we've learned from the beginning of to just ask more questions, interview them more. So I feel like we do that better. So we're getting more people that are better suited for us now than in the beginning where we're like, we just need somebody.
I think that's so relatable, right? Just, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't even know what you're looking for, right? And yet, so many of us start out and you just hire somebody who does it, and you don't know even what to ask, right? So I think if we think about people listening that are in the very early stages of their business and they're thinking like, okay, yeah, I do have all of these things. I don't think it's surprising that all of us go through that transition of brand new business owner who knows what they think they need, but you don't even know yet, really. So you just are starting. Right. And then you hire people and there is a trial and error. And I think people forget that. They think that it's going to be like the special snowflakes the first round. And I think for anybody listening, like that is not reality and you haven't done anything wrong because part of it is you have to progress through as you develop as a business owner to be like, oh, this is what is really important to me. And I had no idea of that 18 months ago or 3 years ago, because how could I have?
And too, I think early on in the state, as a business owner, you ignore a lot of red flags. You ignore a lot of things that you're like, this doesn't seem right, but I feel like I really need their help, or they're making it sound like I really need their help. And I mean, Sam and I can say this for sure. I mean, a lot of red flags are ignored early on. We've had these conversations about business and decisions that we made. It's like your gut screaming at you like, I don't think this is right, or this is truly beneficial for me. But when you're a new business owner, I mean, I'm a nurse practitioner. I know how to be an NP. I know how to, so I think that's just what's hard as a business owner. There's a lot of wheels turning, and how do you keep them all going at once?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that early in your business too, you're still trying to figure out how to even be a business owner, like how you even will manage those things. What's the best way that you work with people? Do you like the agency that is in your inbox every single day and, hey, reminder, blah, blah, blah? Or do you like the one that is just more laid back and, okay, I know they're doing what they need to do? And neither one is wrong or right, but you will have a preference. And if you select the opposite the first time, it's okay to be like, okay, manage those expectations and have that communication of, okay, this is what I want. Or I
think, like, just to touch on too, there's also all of us sitting here, and I think a huge portion of the people that'll listen to this podcast, we're also balancing trying to be people, right? Trying to be
keep little humans alive.
Yeah, we're trying to keep tiny humans alive. We're trying to keep dogs alive. We're trying to manage to have some downtime that isn't every waking second about business and about how are we doing it, and oh my God, can I do payroll, and blah, 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 all the things. And I think just being able to speak that out.
I agree. I mean, and I think too, when you feel that way, at least my opinion would be like, then you're stagnant in your business isn't growing, or you're not bettering yourself either, because the second that you stop educating yourself, you stop learning, you stop finding ways to not even necessarily grow the business, but to bring more value to the business, to make yourselves better. So I just think once you become, it's okay to be content with where you are, but it's a difference to become stagnant and just not want to grow and continue to be better.
Yeah,
no,
I agree.
Because growth is more than just also the monetary side. It is that value add side. It's looking at, okay, how are my employees feeling when they come to work? Are they happy when they come to work? Or do they have the Sunday scaries? You know, what experience am I providing for other people? I definitely agree. There's always somewhere you can be looking at improving.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just with that, or one of our employees the other day, it was a while back. She said, I just love that you guys just don't micromanage us. And I said, honey, the day I have to micromanage you is the day you should not work here, because I shouldn't have to micromanage you, you know? I'm like, you know what you need to do. Like, your job responsibilities are spelled out for you. We've brought you on because we know you're competent to do this job. If you have people who truly love you and you treat them well and you show how much you value them too, they pour back into your business. And so it's a twofold type thing. I mean, when you become stagnant, so will your employees.
I'll direct you to Tara first, but anything from a marketing side that you're like, I need some help, what would you suggest?
I think from a marketing side, I think the biggest scare for us is, I told you how important it is that we are portrayed in a different manner. We don't want to be your typical med spa. And I think as far as marketing goes, how do you bring on a marketing company and not lose that personal connection with your clients? Because I feel like some of these marketing clients are like, oh, we'll drive the people in the door. And I'm like, we're not driving the people in the door. Like, how do you do marketing well? And how do you pick the right one that doesn't make you lose who you are, but helps push your business forward?
Yeah. So love that question.
That's a good question. I like that a lot.
A lot to unpack within that. So as far as not losing who you are, I think it's really finding a marketing agency that maybe you have a singular account manager, whatever that looks like. You have that one person that you go to and they know your business and they know what experience you're trying to convey when somebody walks in the door, so that whenever they're strategizing your marketing for you, they're able to have that in mind always. And that is top of mind. Like at the end of the day, the goal is one, obviously to get you clients, but also to get the kind of clients that you want coming in the door, that you want to build those relationships with, because a filled chair is not always the best thing if it's the wrong kind of yeah, like it's not.
Nobody wants a Karen. Sorry if your name is Karen, but I'm just saying.
Your name can be Karen, just don't act like one.
Exactly. Don't be a Karen.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law's name is Karen, but
that's the thing of, okay, how are you booking these appointments? I know you're going to drive people to us, but how? And how do you qualify them? And how do I know that these are going to be quality things? And then it takes that time of you then auditing like what is actually coming through the door. But really it's a matter of looking at that process of what are they doing to book those appointments, and what are the touch points that those people are seeing in order to book. Because if they are seeing content that is genuine and true to brand and has your personality and Haven's personality in it, they've already met you. You don't know them, but they have already met you and they've met your business and they know what to expect when they're coming in. And so just having that strong brand personality before you even meet them, the work is done for you. At that point, you just have to be yourself and provide excellent care. It makes it a lot more scalable too, because then you're not having to build that relationship on the forefront from scratch. They already know what to expect. They're coming in prepared for that.
And how do you know which ones? Like, I feel like there's so many out there. You get emails day after day, like, your website could be better.
Yeah. And I might have a hot take on it. The ones that email you and say you can have 30 new clients are probably full of shit.
Delete.
I think the best way to look at a marketing agency and decide are they the best fit for you is that face-to-face and having somebody that you can talk to, like an actual person you're talking to, and ideally also somebody you can build a relationship with, whether it's the business owner that's fulfilling your contract or they have a team of people. So we have a team of people, but you have a singular person that you're talking to, and you know, no matter who's working on my account, they all know what the end goal is, and we've worked on this strategy together. But really it's interviewing them and taking the time to get to know them and seeing how they work with people and just going from there. I will say quality marketing services are going to be more expensive, but they'll also get you a lot more in turn. I always am wary of a really good deal, because why is it so inexpensive? Is it better graphics that they're getting just from Canva? And it doesn't convey my brand message. It's just what they do for every med spa and aesthetic place that they have on their rotation. So
so when it comes to marketing and a marketing agency, is it good to have a marketing agency specialize in like your website and like your SEO? We specialize in your social media marketing. We specialize in, ads. We specialize in like campaigns, as far as like text campaigns. Or I'm like, how do you like, do these agencies do it all? Can you find one we do it all?
Yeah, there are agencies that do it all. We do a lot of some of it, but then you also know a single agency, are they going to be perfect at every single possible marketing thing out there? Probably not. So having one that's honest with, here are our best services, here's what we can get for you. And then also knowing that you don't have to be doing every type of marketing that exists. You might not need postcard mailing, so you don't need somebody that does that. You really need the focus on that social media side of things. And with you having a strong SEO person, don't rock the boat if that's working. You would find that agency that then is really good at that social media side of things and can create the content and strategize it and really get it out there with the message that you want. It depends. It also depends on if you're the kind of business owner that only wants to talk to a single person.
Yeah.
Or if you are okay with managing multiple people.
Okay.
I think too, the other thing to think about too is I always talk about you need your team. And so part of what I would look for is, can you work with the people I already love and exist in my world? So if you have your SEO guy is amazing, right? You love him. He's doing the website stuff. You really like that. Is he willing to collaborate with your social media digital agency? And if he is, does that work, right? So that kind of stuff where you don't necessarily even have to be in every time they get together, but to have a collaboration with more specialties, being able to talk and then be like, yes, we are working together so that we're building this out for you on the back end, I think is a way to work it too. And I think going back to the bookkeeper and accountant, and do they need to be separate? Do they need to be separate firms? Do they need to be completely isolated? Can they be together? Both, can they both be the same person? I think, again, it's back to that. What do you prefer? How much time do you have on the administration side and the back end of the business to be like, okay, I have to meet with the bookkeeper, I have to meet with the accountant, I have to meet with the social media person, I have to meet with the website guy, I have to meet with the SEO person. And if they all become individual.
Well, ain't saying when you say it like that, sounds like a lot of my time.
It's a lot of your time, right? And in some ways, there's no way around it, right? Like for you to manage the business as it grows, we get pulled more and more towards the like CEO level business owner and less the like hands in the day-to-day front of house stuff, inevitably. And it comes with, pros and cons. A lot of times I deal with business owners that want to still be very hands-on. They want to spend a huge portion of their time interacting with the patients because that's what they love. And I mean, that's you for sure. But there's also that back end stuff that has to be done and managed. So it's like a stupid balancing act where sometimes it's going to be like, I'm going to choose the accounting firm that can do both because that's one meeting. And I'm going to choose specialists in the marketing because that's more important. And I want it to be very isolated specialties. And then you just go from there, right? But I don't think, unfortunately, I wish there was just hire one fairy godmother and they will do everything. That'd be amazing. I'd like that girl.
I know it would be.
Yeah.
Haven and I have gotten better about that. We have split some things. So like when it comes to certain tasks on the back end of the business, I handle these meetings with people when it comes to our accountant and our bookkeeper and all that, and she handles like more like social media.
Yeah.
That does help having two of us, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any questions that I can answer that are maybe not marketing specific, but anything that you think, okay, I've got the profit coach in the room, what do I need to know on that front?
Just from a coaching standpoint, how do you keep all the wheels spinning without letting something fall? I mean, it's just every time you feel like you get one thing like locked down and you feel good about this area of the business, it's like, wow, this one's been neglected, or so I mean, so just even from a coach standpoint, I'm like, how do you do it all? How do you keep it all going?
It's such a good question, but it's like the answer is so shitty because the reality is you can't do it all. So it becomes that when I get a business owner that says or asks me a question like that, and you already know the answer to this, is like, you don't have enough people probably right now, so you are trying to do too many things and you're only one human. So it's time management and it's super organization and it's systems and it's all of those pieces. But at the end of the day, there is only so much capacity. So I will have clients where I talk to them and say, like, you're at the capacity you have, and what you're doing is just passing the ball from person to person on the theory that there is a position that the ball can fall and someone's there to catch it. And the reality is sometimes you get to the point where you're like, I'm dropping stuff or stuff is not as beneficial as I want it. It's just capacity. It comes back to we need to lean into that hiring and finding that person that is a really good fit and like embracing the fact that is very nerve-wracking and very hard to do and very concerning that if you get it wrong, but also remembering that very old adage of like, hire slow, fire fast. If you make a mistake when you hire, no big deal, happens to the best of us. You get rid of them and you try again. And but not being like frozen to not take that step forward to try and find that person, knowing it takes a little while for them to come online and be actually helpful and productive. But I wish I could say, but I know you well enough to know that you already are thinking about your time management. You are already using your time to the best of your ability. You are already delegating as much as possible and like between you and Haven sharing things the way that you need to in the clinic. And I know you're not asking that from a place of 3-hour lunches and messing around and not doing anything. Like that's a different answer to a different business owner maybe, but I think that's probably the answer for you, unfortunately, is like, you need more peeps.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think from a profit standpoint, I think it's just, we've really honed in, I feel like, on our numbers here in the last 3 months and try to clean that up. But I do feel like, I look at our numbers or what coming in and I'm like, where's all this money going? Where does it go? And that's, and I mean, don't get me wrong, in the aesthetic industry, to order a
Your
vial.
expenses are high. Yeah. And they're not preventable high. Like to order product, to have inventory, to have the machinery necessary for providing the services that you provide. All of that stuff is inevitable, but it is really going through with a fine-tooth comb and being like, is our pricing taking into consideration every expense that is created in this environment?
And I think that's where we struggle is, when you're thinking about a procedure, I don't know that we've always taken into consideration of our time, like the time it's taking us to sit in the room, or what we're paying our nurse to sit in that room, or our esthetician to sit in that room. What do all the supplies that you're using cost? What is all that adding up? It's like you set these prices for this service that you're giving, but you're really looking at just like the service. You're not.
Yeah.
And so there's times I'm looking at Haven and I'm just like, where can we cut cost? And, I'm like, when talking to our accountant, our bookkeeper, they're like, you guys make, for how young you still are, we're going on 4 years. And we're still a young med spa, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. The difference between like top line revenue numbers that can look very impressive and bottom line, what is the profit that actually comes home and is in your pocket, right? And I think that has to be a continual conversation in a business, because each and every 6 months even, you've got to evaluate, are my prices aligned? But if you guys haven't gone through and done that very itemized, like what's our overhead, what's our cost, how much are we paying for credit card processing fees, and is that incorporated into the pricing of our services? It like each little minutia detail, and then saying this procedure needs to cover X percentage of that expense, whether it's staffing costs or whatever. It's very hard. The profit margin of those individual services is probably not where you think it is, because there's probably a chunk of lines in that spreadsheet that aren't being compensated for on the backside of the pricing.
Right.
And that's something that is hard to do when you very first start a business in any realm where you're able to set prices. Because when you start out in business, you're starting out with all of the mindset crap of, how much is it actually worth? Are people ever going to pay me? Holy shit, I need to pay the rent. I need somebody to come and just buy the service. Like, I need someone in here right now so that I'm not just standing around twiddling my thumbs. And so that changes over time. But I think that's where usually, sometimes that's your CPA can be a little bit strategic in that way and help. But oftentimes it ends up being a business coach that helps with that stuff and pulls it out and itemizes it all and then puts it back together with, okay, what's the plan over the next 18 months in terms of your pricing, and how can we make this? Because you can't make those switches in the first day, right?
Yeah, and I think that's been the biggest struggle, at least for me in the business, is just like the numbers and knowing, are our prices good? Are our numbers right? Our bookkeeper is phenomenal, and she's walked me through a lot of it, and she's handling it now. And so I'm like, whew, I can breathe, because before I was like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing.
An interesting thing too is knowing your most expensive service might not be your most profitable service. So
that's the truth.
That back into marketing of knowing what your most profitable service is and leaning into that with
and
your
marketing the
strategy.
crap out of it. Yeah.
And so when you're looking for a marketing agency, have one that has also that mindset and works with you on, okay, I know this is what you would like us to push, but what if we did this and here's why?
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, people say all the time, they're like, why is Botox so expensive? I'm like, honey, if you knew how much we made off Botox, you would literally laugh and ask us why we do it. I mean, it is literally, that is not the driving. It is one of the most sought out services in a med spa, and it's probably one of the most done services in a med spa, that and like fillers and stuff. But I'm like, that is not where your moneymaker is in a med spa. It's not. It's just not.
Yeah. Well, and knowing that, right, and that specializing. So then making sure that what you're talking about is the stuff that drives the money primarily, because at the end of the day, you are still a business, and then getting to do the other stuff as less of a priority in terms of what you're pushing, but it's an add-on, right? It becomes the side pal to the profitable stuff. People don't understand that. I think there's also that level of educating your clientele, right? So not necessarily that we're saying to them, listen, this only makes me 35 cents. I don't want to stab you in the face anymore with this needle because it's not profitable for me. That's not helpful. But having that conversation of like, when you do this Botox or this filler, and when you add these skincare products onto this, and it maintains, it continues, it elongates the treatment that we've done here today and creates the other sort of effects that you're looking for. If then, let's say, skincare is the more profitable side of that, it's that co-selling and side selling and upselling. All of those pieces become strategies too, right? So it's not just necessarily what do the numbers look like. It's like understanding the numbers and being like, how do I now start selling in a way that supports the numbers and backs you up? And so, you know, as we're talking about this, I think hopefully what everybody's gleaning from this is complicated. And so if it feels complicated to a business owner who's sitting there with her head in her hands, like trying to figure out whatever part of it is hard for her, you're not alone. And it is hard, but also there's people that can help you. So that's first and foremost. Just find your supportive people around you, lean in, invest in people that know what you don't know, and go that way. And the reality is with business ownership, there is no right answer. There is a combination that works for your business. And that combination gets to be based on what you and what Haven are excellent at, what you're not excellent at, outsourcing as much of it as you can. And then realizing that like you can change your minds and decide that next week we no longer do that thing because it doesn't make sense. It's a little bit of trial and error for all of us, I think. And just, I'm glad you brought some of those particular questions up because you are not the only people that are dealing with that in their business at all by any stretch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much for being willing to do this and just chat with us. And
absolutely. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for asking me. It's been a good time. And to get some pearls on marketing. And Sam, I know you're the guru when it comes to profits and stuff too.